Welcome to the Smoke Learning channel. In the previous example, we started to composite a challenging key in the modular keyer. We started off with creating two keying passes whose mats were combined with the matte blend node. We'll now turn our attention away from the matte and focus on the color of the key as well as enhancing the edge detail with pixel spread. You can follow along with the footage provided. All the materials can be downloaded via the link on the YouTube description or type the link in a browser displayed at the bottom of this video. Now, since we have only been working on the matte and alpha for the key, our color channels have been unaffected so far. So if you press 4 and look at the result, you can see that the talent is still affected by the green spill. To remove the green spill, we need to apply color suppression to the red pipeline, which represents the color information. Press the Home icon button to bring up the Modular Keyer node bin. Hover over the nodes and press C. This will highlight nodes beginning with C, and you can drag the Color Curves node out and drop it onto the red pipeline. Double-click on the node to see the controls and press F4 over the right viewer to see the node result. The Color Curves node can do a variety of color shifting, including color suppression. To suppress the green in our image, you need to perform 3 steps. First, you need to enable the suppression curve and click the color pot so that you can sample the green in the image. You are telling the color curves what color it will be suppressing. So if you were using a blue screen, you would pick the blue color. The next step is to plot where the green color exists in the color spectrum displayed in the interface. All you need to do is just click and drag on the image, and a vertical bar will appear indicating where the color values exist in the color spectrum. And the third and final step is to apply suppression. The suppression curve is sitting in the middle of the graph, meaning that the color has not been adjusted. If I pick one of the control points and drag it down, the selected suppression color will be suppressed towards gray. If you drag the curve upwards, it would increase the saturation of the green color. As for suppressing, I was always taught that you suppress the color to this line, which gives a gray value. If you drag to the bottom of the graph, you could land up with extreme color shifting, which you want to avoid. Lastly, take a closer look at the curve and notice the sloping graduation of the curve. The reason why you do this in this way is that the bottom of the curve is the green color suppressed to gray. However, the green color is graduated in the image. You usually see this with green spill across the talent. So you need to gently suppress the color with smooth slopes, and this will help with the suppression in the picture. Remember that you want to suppress the main green in the image, but you still want to keep enough green to keep your talent looking normal. Nobody wants a purple-looking person in their program. Once again, we have been looking at the node result in the right viewer. You could have pressed 3 to look at the action context and still adjust the suppression. Perhaps you need to do the suppression in the context with the background to match it. You have a lot of options. Once the green has been suppressed, you can add some color correction. You can either apply it now in the modular keyer or apply it elsewhere in Action or Connect effects. I'll just quickly throw one in and apply a quick color correction using the black and white levels. A bit more contrasty will do nicely. Finally, we need to tackle the edges of the keyed talent. Hold Option Command to zoom your image and Control Command to pan your image to see the edges. With almost every key, you will land up with edge artifacts, as this is the nature of the mathematics used to pull the key. You can use a variety of techniques to rectify this, including edge blending with color and light wrapping, to name a few. In Smoke, you have another alternative known as pixel spread. This allows you to spread the actual pixels from your key into the bad edges, which actually fixes the typical halo you can get with chroma keys. The pixel spread is applied to the fill image, but we use the matte to specify the area to spread the pixels. This will affect the way you connect the nodes. Click the Home icon button and press P over the nodes to highlight the pixel spread. Drag the node and drop it after the color correction process. You will notice that a dot appears on the pixel spread node and the result viewer is displaying a no result error. This is because, like some tools, pixel spread requires more inputs to function properly. As I mentioned earlier, we need the matte from the key to specify the areas where pixel spread will work. So take the matte connection out of the matte blend node and connect it to the matte input of pixel spread. Double-click on the pixel spread node and press F4 in the viewer to cycle to its result output. I am going to exaggerate this first so you can see what happens to the image. I'll first increase the width, and then I'll push the parallax to the extreme. It looks as if the pixels are growing out from the talent. Now this can make an interesting effect, but this does create an interesting result on the overall key. Press 3 over the viewer to get the action context view. Now I'll set the zoom to 100 and set the parallax to 0 to see the original result. Pay close attention to the talent's left arm. As I increase the parallax, you will see the halo edges disappear. The key looks pretty good and the result is very pleasing. You can now exit the Modular keyer and continue with the other compositing tasks. In the final video of the Modular keyer series, we will look at some of the gotchas to ensure you can work properly in the Modular keyer. Some things you've heard me mention before, and others you have not. This is something you should not miss. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Smoke Learning channel for future videos.